Welt Rheaume has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They are committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. Here's Miami Dolphins insider David Furones.
All right, so did you find out the breaking news for us? Is Jordan Poyer going to take on the fight?
Going to take on the fight. Which fight is that you're referencing?
What's wrong with you, bro? You don't see it? Clearly, he can't play football anymore, so now he should be able to take on Jake Paul. Everybody that's too old in their sport, they usually take on Jake Paul. And clearly, Jordan Poyer is an old fart that can't play football anymore. I'm just wondering, has Jake Paul challenged him?
That would be a JP versus JP matchup. I'm figuring out here as you mentioned that. So, yeah.
About bathrobes. He could just make them double and give it to him an extra pair, and that's it. They don't even have to change the font. They don't have to change the letters or anything. It's just an extra pair that he can print. So, yeah, it's good. JPP versus JPP. You know me.
No, I like that one too. Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, though, obviously a couple poor angles on those plays, missed attack on Brock Bowers, and also Javon Holland not excluded in that either. There was the first touchdown drive. Was it the first touchdown drive, or maybe one of their field goal drives? Took a bad angle. I think also on Bowers that then he got around and then he had to kind of catch up to him to get him down after the first down marker. That was on a third down, and then also the Gardner Minshew play. Holding the ball across the first down marker, kind of maybe some just holding back against a quarterback. You don't want to draw a penalty, but right at the first down marker, if he's staying in and holding the ball out, you got to at least try to poke that away. I mean, we've seen him do it.
All I kept thinking of, if that was Tua, he would have run into the guy.
You're bad, Big O. You're bad.
He would have. He would have. His insane ass would have
not near the sideline. Not near the sideline. I could see him doing the same thing that Gardner Minshew did. Not near the sideline. Not when you already have what you need for the first down. You just stick the ball out. I would hope.
Knowing him, he sees the marker and he thinks it's not over yet, so he's got to put his shoulder into the guy. It's just that's what he would do. It's just his crazy ass does stuff like that. I was telling this to the fan base out there today. For us to expect perfection is ridiculous at this point. We've watched this coach for 2.5 years. His teams are undisciplined. They make mistakes. He makes a ton of he burned the timeout after a break today. It just there are the things that go on with this guy. Just, so I think if you're a Dolphins fan, you're almost at a point where you just got to be grateful that they found a way to win a game. And to me, that's kind of where it's at right now. I think if we're expecting style points on top of a win, where's the example for that? You know what I'm saying? It's almost unrealistic. And it's almost like, hey, man, just find a way to survive every week and live with the results the way they are.
Absolutely. And that's the way it goes in the NFL, really. I mean, because there is so much parity in this league, but still a lot of good that was done in this game. The third down conversions finished off. I had the number in my head, but now 8 of 12 third downs, and then also 2 for 2 on fourth down. So you go 10 of 14 between third and fourth. So 2 of those that you didn't get, you did get on fourth. Sustaining the long drives, which has been such a big question about this team, that you wondered, could they do it when they don't have the big play available to them? And in this game, it was sustain the long drives, take what the defense gives you, which Tua has been doing in recent games. And then finally, the big play became available, and they knew what to do. Jonnu Smith made the adjustment on his route, sat in coverage there. Tua found him. Where he wasn't supposed to be, actually. Tua revealed to us post-game, and then you hit the big play, so that kind of put the distance between them, but still, not this time also the defense giving up a lot of these third downs and keeping the Raiders in it after it was sort of playing out to be a bit of a low-scoring game, but due to the longer possessions, but unable to get off the field on third downs defensively too was the other side of that, and A couple of touchdown drives for the Raiders made it interesting, but then finally pulled away toward the end to win. Hey, you win by 15 in the NFL against any team, then you come away pleased.
Yeah, man. That to me, that's the way it's got to be. Are there going to be things? Do I want Tua holding on to the ball and that fumble? No, he's got to be smarter than that. There are things that they've got to clean out of their game overall, and you want to try to bring the big play back, and it's just hard for them to find the big play. But I almost feel like you ran the ball really well with Achan, but I don't think you ran enough at times. I don't think you used enough of Jaylen Wright at times to add a little bit more power, to the running game. Your thoughts on that? Because I almost feel like you've got to dedicate almost even more to the run to suck these guys in, so then maybe you can start trying to go over the top.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, that's one way to do it. And Jaylen Wright only 5 carries, and Rheaume only 3. So to go with Achan, who got the bulk of the work with 17. But Tua was talking today about this. It's also using the short passing game as an extension of the run game, kind of how it was done this time. So when Tua's 28 of 36, then you're not throwing a lot of incomplete passes in the passing game. So you are just collecting those small chunks, taking what the defense gives you. And like Mike McDaniel said, then those big plays, they're going to have to be earned because the defense is trying so much to take those away that then you take what the defense gives you so long that then eventually they're going to overplay and bite, and then that's when you get the opening like Jonnu Smith had late in the game. So those opportunities, they'll have to earn those types of defensive looks by being disciplined and taking what the defense gives you for a lot of the games, because that's how defenses are going to play the Dolphins.
While I'm not a Mike McDaniel fan, let's give him some credit here, because when he had the Tua injury, he had to morph into counting on the running game a little bit more. So then that became a little bit more in his habit. And then now the 2 shell, safeties, that's forcing him to keep everything underneath, short passes, use the tight end, use the running game. And Jonnu Smith has become the factor that we all wanted. I mean, he comes from a tree where they run the ball and they throw to the tight end. And those are things, those elements weren't existing enough here. And now those elements have kind of existed, and due to the circumstances, it's almost morphed them into actually calling a better game. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, he did have to be very extra dependent on the run game all those weeks when Tua was out. And then now, maybe you could still stick with it more situationally, but he also 2 high shells, and he trusts Tua to make exactly what I was just saying, make that pass game, short passing game, an extension of the run game. So you have sort of this confidence that you're not going to put yourself at risk for turnovers. Now, Tua did turn the ball over twice against the Rams, but for the most part, as long as you make it a true extension of the run game, and you're not forcing throws into that coverage, then continue to take what the defense gives you, and at some point it could open up.
Yeah, and the Jonnu Smith thing, that's been really, really cool, because this is the guy that we thought would be at least I thought should be the 3rd leading receiver. Well, now he's on pace to pass Tyreek Hill too.
Yeah, right. Well, so what are the updated numbers there?
I don't know, but I'm just saying, if he continues at this pace, it's like, holy crap, he's catching more passes than the receivers now. It's interesting. He was supposed to be the 3rd guy that complements them. He's like becoming like the number 1 wide receiver now. It's insane. Yeah,
actually, I mean, he gained 40 on him today. 101 for Jonnu Smith, 61 for Tyreek Hill. So so he's within 100 yards now, because Tyreek entered today 462, and
Tyreek got 7 for 61, and he got 6 for 101. So the per catch average too for Jonnu Smith is also
well, of course, with the big 57-yarder.
Well, hey, bro,
usually that's Tyreek getting the big.
It happened with Tyreek all the time, right?
Right. The Tyreek didn't have one like that. Yeah, Jonnu did.
Yeah. So, but at least credit to that, that you've gotten Jonnu involved. I'm excited for that because with Tyreek, see, one of the things I talked about in the pregame, to me, Waddle has become a massive underachiever now because he drops passes. Today he didn't, at least. And then 2, your number 1 guy is injured. You should be the guy elevating and really becoming that guy, and I don't see it. And so that's kind of weird. And to me, that's kind of underachieving. And that's not kind of. He is underachieving. For what they're paying him, he is not producing for what so you need Jonnu to do this right now because if Tyreek can't be himself because of the wrist, you need somebody else. Look, I'll give you another example. You watched the throw to the corner of the end zone to Tyreek?
Yeah. What about it?
What was wrong with that throw? What did you see wrong in that play? I want to see if you see the same thing I did.
Well, for the most part, I usually just don't like Tyreek in that situation to begin with. But
I agree with that. You're
that's not what you're getting at, though, right?
No. What did you see? What was a negative for the entire team on that play call right there?
I don't know. Tell me.
Okay. If the window's closing quickly in that moment, you need to fire the ball in there. But you can't fire the ball in there because the receiver that's there can't catch it like this because he has a wrist injury. So you watch every catch is basket. Even the one he curled in at the beginning of the game, Tua threw it right into the basket, bro. I mean, like, perfect. I was like, oh my God, Tua is a fucking chef, and he just delivered your meal like right there in there. And why? He had to loft it in there so he can basket in. And that gave the DB plenty of time to come in and close in on it because Tua knew he had to adjust his throw because the receiver on the other end can't catch a rifle. So you called the play for the wrong player. And that play, you had to call it to Waddle so you can rifle it in there before the DB closes, and then Waddle can catch it with his hands. But because you had a limited receiver in the corner of the end zone, you had to loft it, hoping it would get there in time so he can basket catch it. See, that's a negative on the coach. That's a negative on the quarterback. That's a negative on the wide receiver. That's a negative on the entire team on that play right there. Because you had to adjust the throw, which then ruined the entire play because the play call was perfect. The route was open, but you needed a different throw you could not do to that wide receiver.
Okay, yeah. And this is the one that was a little bit behind him, right? Just to make sure I got
He floated it. Yeah,
floated it and a little bit behind. Yeah. Let the defender catch up. Yeah. That's interesting. You make the point about having to catch balls in a basket form. I'll have to now keep an eye on that. I wasn't even thinking of that. Is he using his hands? I'm going to rewatch the game at some point, and then I'll have to be looking for that now because then it could seriously hinder a lot of routes, different types of catches.
Watch all the routes. Watch all the catches.
All the throws.
I watched it all. None of them are like this because he can't. Because he can't, because his wrist is not stable, because that's why you can't do that. He's basket catching everything with his body, everything. So that puts you at a deficiency, and that's not good coaching. It just doesn't set up your team for success, man.
Yeah, those are the kind of catches that I was seeing him warm up with the Monday night at SoFi Stadium, testing the wrist when he was still questionable, a game time decision. That's how he was testing it. It's just catching short passes from a coach in that way. And it seemed like, I guess, he had tested it enough. It felt that it was good. I kind of put it on the back burner for myself. But, if it's still affecting him as far as in-game catching, then that could hinder a lot of plays that could go his way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so you look at it, that's how everything's angled right now. And that to me kind of, hurts. But I mean, listen, today it's one of those where you found a way to win the game. And I'd like to see Waddle become the guy right now. You know what I'm saying? This offense really needs the guy that's fully healthy and being paid a lot of money to go out there and become, the man right now next to Jonnu Smith. And Tyreek is good enough right now that he's going to attract a lot of attention. So that should help out Jonnu, and that should help out Waddle. Waddle's going to face the second best corner. So let's go, dude. You're a number one type receiver. Play like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you're going to need to see more from Waddle. I mean, only 3 passes went his way. Picked up a 24-on-1, I remember. But, you'll want to see more out of both him and Tyreek. But as all that coverage is going to them, you have Jonnu Smith opening things up, it opens things up for him, then that's good to see as well. Now it needs to sort of even out, recalibrate where defenses now have to respect Jonnu to that level where they could play a little more honest toward Tyreek and Jaylen Waddle, and then hopefully for them that opens things up for them.
By the way, Welt Rheaume, a proud sponsor of our program and this segment every single week, 954-966-4646. Bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury. So many of our listeners have called and have been very satisfied with the results with Welt Rheaume. And some of our listeners right now are dealing with Welt Rheaume. We did too. They crushed Progressive. Call them, 954-966-4646. Did you disagree with not putting Ramsey on the tight end the entire day? Because that's what a lot of people thought you should just do, since he's the one guy that can kill you and was killing you throughout the game.
Yeah, at least at some point, once you had to make some adjustment, once you realized he was.
Yeah, try it at least, right?
Right. Now, maybe there are some residuals as far as defensive packages with once you do put your top corner, Jalen Ramsey, on the tight end, then how you work everything else if certain other players aren't comfortable with in other positions. But even then, I mean, it's just for how much Brock Bowers was just killing you in this game, then you had to just at some point decide we're sticking our best on him. No more of the safety, no more Jordan Poyer going against him. Everything else that he was seeing, the zone coverages where he was just finding holes in between 2 defenders. So at some point, it was the main target. No one else from the Raiders. All right, Jacoby Myers had 6, but no one else had more than 4 targets. Brock Bowers had 16 targets for 13 catches. So at some point, I feel like an adjustment had to be made, even if you didn't open with that, at least to give them different looks, and then to have that in your arsenal would have been beneficial.
How many games have they done that where they put Ramsey on somebody or they moved him around a lot?
Yeah, see, the way he has moved around, and we know Anthony Weaver came into the year saying he was using him as this ultimate chess piece. It's been more so to move him into the slot and also using him on the blitz a lot. So I haven't seen it so much in terms of the tight end. I'm trying to think of that Cardinals game. I don't think a lot of Trey McBride's work was against Ramsey, if I recall.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And we're so that's why I asked you, because it's a great follow-up, because Ramsey said he loved the defense and he was talking about how he was, going to be used the right way and all that. And this was a perfect week. The one guy that could kill you, and you have what supposedly is the ultimate, Swiss Army knife or whatever. Well, then why didn't you do it? What is it about what is wrong with the rest of your defense that you could not adjust by putting your best defender on their best offensive player? Yeah. I would love to see how they answer that, because this is what you brought Jalen Ramsey to do at times, and really that was the only guy you feared on that.
Right. Yeah, to have him almost exclusively for most of the game on Jacoby Myers, that's not someone who strikes fear in you. So Brock Bowers is a player on the Raiders offense that does. So yes, I felt it at some point that should have been done.
Yeah. So that I'd love to see. Did you guys ask McD that question?
I did ask him about his thoughts on Brock Bowers specifically, but maybe a question for Anthony Weaver this week when we do get to talk to him about why that wasn't the decision. That'll be on Thursday when coordinators talk. But also in our Sun Sentinel prop bet predictions piece, I hit the my long shot pick, which was Brock Bowers' 8+ receptions. He easily got that with his 13. So I had a feeling this was coming.
By the way, if you really want to, put yourself in a really difficult position, you might want to ask this. Hey, on the Jaylen Phillips injury, so did he have a torn ligament before or after he went on the field with a knee pad? And was it a good idea to put a player on the field with a repaired Achilles tendon and you don't know if his knee is torn or not? And if it was torn before and you knew it was torn before, how does it make any sense to put a knee brace and put him back out there on the field? Or if you didn't know it was torn, but he was limping, how does it make any sense to put a knee brace on a repaired leg that with an Achilles to put him back out on the field? In fact, where did it make any responsible sense to put him back out on the field? That's one I would like to see you ask.
Yeah. I mean,
think about it. There's no responsible answer to either way of putting him back out on the field. You put a limping player back out on the field with a repaired Achilles tendon. And what are you going to say? That it was torn before? And so you put on a brace on a guy with a partially torn knee ligament, you put him back out on the field? I'd like to know, because either way, it was one of the most irresponsible things to do out there. Jaylen Phillips is not going to protect himself like most players. They're all crazy. They're all going to play. You can't stop these people. But you're supposed to be the adult in the room. And at no point they were ever the adult in the room with that. I'm just saying. Nobody's asked that. Nobody's asked that at all. Okay? And let me tell you something. The NFL PA has a case here. Because there's no way, nothing makes any sense that you would allow that young man to go back out onto the field. Nothing at all. And you can't admit that you knew it was torn before. That would be
that would be pretty damning, yes.
Yes, exactly. And if it tore after and you put the brace on, it's still irresponsible because he limped to you. And then your answer was, here, we'll put a little saliva. Here's a brace. Go ahead, go back out there again.
Yeah. Throw some duct tape on it and fix it back up. Yeah.
I'd love to hear that answer, because it was extremely irresponsible of the medical staff. Either way, there is no justification either way to put Jaylen Phillips back out on the field and put him at risk. And by the way, I will go to my grave thinking it wasn't torn before. Because why? He was still walking around and still able to get it done. And then once he came back after the brace, he couldn't do it anymore. I wonder why. Oh, that's because it tore then. So, but that's just me. I'm not a doctor. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn. But I do know this. It was irresponsible either way.
Yeah. Right. In either scenario. Right. Yeah.
Either scenario. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'd love to see the media actually ask and challenge them, because they screwed up royally on this one. Yeah. And they have gotten an absolute hall pass on this. Absolute hall pass. We're talking about the same coaching staff that put Chubb out there in a game that meant nothing last year, and now he's done and hasn't come back since. So you're in a mess because you have no pass rush, and you keep messing with your pass rushers.
Okay? Yeah. And I mean, I think that will be a question to circle back to. I mean, not mid-season now after you've had so many weeks without him, and he's done for the year. But at some point, once we do either hear from Jaylen Phillips next, once that recovery is starting going into the offseason at some point next year, all that, then at some point that's something to revisit for sure. So I don't know if it's ever going to get asked this season, but
revisiting the NFL PA. How about revisiting with his agent? Maybe they would like to have a swing at it, because there's a lot of questions to be answered. a lot of questions to be answered on that one. Okay. So, Devon Achane and Calais Campbell, so impressed with what they're doing. But I'm also very concerned. Jaylen Phillips, back to this. You didn't have a real training camp, young man. You never were in real football shape. And yet they threw you out to the Wolves and they gave you enough snaps that you snapped. Well, Achane is getting a lot of carries and a lot of passes, and there's a Jalen right there. And I get you've got Mostert kind of in the doghouse because he's playing only on third downs, but you're not using Jalen Wright and you're overusing Achane. And then I'm looking at Calais Campbell even playing on special teams, and I'm saying, yo, bro, this guy's almost old enough to fight Jake Paul. You can't do this to this man. So, what's going on here? I'm a little concerned for those two because I think in a desperate situation, you are overusing those two players.
And sorry, you're saying so Achane and who?
Calais Campbell.
And Calais Campbell. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Campbell,
my point is that you screwed up with Jaylen Phillips the same way. You never gave him an entire training camp. When he came back to play for the Dolphins, Jaylen didn't have an entire training camp to really get that the leg acclimated and all that. No, it was like a shortened camp, basically. Right. And that was unfair to him, too, on top of all of that. That's part of mishandling Jaylen Phillips' return overall. And when I'm looking at Calais Campbell, when I'm looking at Achane, I am looking at two players that are being overused. That's just me.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't make that case for Campbell in this case because his snap counts are very monitored defensively. He's often like in 60% defensive snaps, maybe sometimes even like 50. I'm actually like pulling it up to try and see if I can get a good feel. Yeah. Well, let me see. So Buffalo, he did play 76% of defensive snaps, but like last week, 47%. Been in the 60s and the 50s for a lot of games. So and that's more like a conventional defensive lineman rotate in and out. I know Zach Sealer plays a lot more, and when it was the Sealer-Wilkins combination, they played a lot of defensive snaps.
That's just ridiculous. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah. Right, that's an anomaly. But then, you also throw he'll probably play like 10 or 12 special team snaps in a game as well. So there is that. But I mean, his snaps are at least monitored to some extent. Now, Achane is seeing a lot of work for his body type, how young he is, and he did suffer one concussion this season, obviously playing with the Guardian cap. But they use him almost like a bell cow running back. Whereas you would think his use is more keep his carries to like 12 to 14 at most, and then get him involved the pass game too, while also getting Jalen Wright in there, whether it's Raheem Mostert, who's not getting as much action now, but maybe an increased role for Jalen Wright. And we're not seeing so much of that, so it does concern me long term.
Those two long drives to start the game, I understand that you want to use the same people and stay in a groove, but man, it's a long drive. So I thought I would have snuck in Wright a lot more in those two long drives, but I get it. You got a hot hand and you're riding it and all that kind of stuff. But I just kind of feel for the kid because he's not a big guy, dude. And he's a tough son of a bitch, man. He is tough, Achane.
Yeah.
Wow. He's fearless, and he's handling the load, dude. I mean, today, what was it? 17 rushes and four catches for 32 yards. That's 21. That's a lot for a guy like him.
Yeah, and going back to the start of the year, I mean, first two games, I remember his touch numbers were astronomical. Then obviously, he left one game early against the Patriots with a concussion, but then you started seeing a little bit more Raheem Mostert get incorporated, Jalen Wright too, even though they didn't keep up his workload with Wright. But I mean, you give him credit, he's handling it, but it does concern you long term that he's taking on this big of a workload.
All right, don't forget Welt Rheaume 954-966-4646. Tell them what you got going on in the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out.
Yeah, wrapping up the game coverage here, and then also writing about Jonnu Smith's big game and the incorporation of him into the offense. And then now we turn the page, starting tomorrow, to the Patriots.
Yep, that's it. Patriots lost today too. See
Yeah.
what happens there. See if they and what's going on with the Bills and the Chefs. The Bills
13-7. 13-7 Bills. Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Go Bills today, bro. Go
Right.
Bills.
That's the last team that needs to fall for the 72 Dolphins to remain the only perfect team.
Yeah, bro.
The Jets and I didn't catch the Colts-Jets score until now. Colts came back.
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
After they led early. Mm-hmm.
Richardson put together a drive at the end, and they ended up. Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, huh?
Yeah, Anthony Richardson. He's still terrible, but they won. Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up on Thursday.
Yes, sir. I'll call Perk to get on here.
You got it. There you go. All right. David Furones with our Welt Rheaume P.A Dolphins report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.